History repeats itself. It fails to die. You are now tuned into But What is Life podcast, the ride to relax, relate, and release into reality where things get fun, real, and the advice is unsolicited. What's up? It's your girl Ani, and I'm back to relax, relate, and release into another episode of But What is Life. How y'all doing today? I hope y'all doing great. I'm doing great myself. It's a little gloomy outside today, but I still feel good. Living good, doing good, and just overall good. You feel me? Period. So today's episode is inspired by something I heard a guy say on a podcast that I was listening to about how men don't submit, or just the fact that it's more so normal for women to submit to men. So let's get into it. So we're going to relax into the general idea of submission, which is the general public majority. I don't want to say majority. I want to say a nice amount of the collective believes that when it comes to submission, it is the women who is relinquishing all power to men in a relationship to be more dominant and hold the power for the woman to follow said man in said relationship. Now let's get into it. Please. Let's get into it. I honestly believe that it's a generic old age concept that plays on the idea that this is a man's world. Now we all know who run the world. Girls, period. Like, I honestly feel like, and this is all across the board, no matter if it's the black race, the white race, the Asian race, the Mexican race, the is that it? Who else do we have? Oh, the Middle Eastern race, Arabs, and whatever. When it comes to all of us as a collective in the human race, the idea that's held to a certain standard is that men run everything. But when we really sit down and talk about it and get into the specifics of the different things that may happen on a day-to-day in different relationships, or, just different things that happen, that goes on around us every day in this world, on this earth. I don't necessarily agree with that. We all know that it all boils down to what the woman says. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that I'm right. This even goes to conversations that I've had previously where there's men and women in the conversation, and especially when it comes to romantic relationships, you know, in those relationships where they live together and they're creating this life together and whatnot. Essentially, the guy has this idea that, yeah, I'm the one that wears the pants. I'm making the decisions and da 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 da. But who the fuck is he running his shit by first before he makes these fucking decisions? Who? Don't worry, I'll wait. Now, I will definitely say that that was the narrative where the man did whatever he did. He didn't, go back to his woman and ask her how she felt about things, or if she thought he should do this or he should do that. I I definitely would say 80 years ago, this was the time where the woman stayed at home. She took care of the house. He went out to work. He brought in the bacon. Therefore, he made the decisions. The woman did not do too much, you know, tug of war with him on decision making, because it's like, okay, my job is just to stay at home, make sure the house is clean, the kids is fed, my husband is fed, the kids is in school, and the bills is paid, all that. So yeah, she played her role. But baby, the times have changed. Even when you think about gender roles today versus back then, there's a lot of women that are doing things that the men are supposed to quote unquote do. You feel me? So, when we talk about submitting to a woman submitting to a man, and of course, I'm not really bridging the gap right now across same-sex marriages and all of that. I'm just talking about the heterosexual dynamic, because that's what I partake in. I don't necessarily know how it goes when it comes to same-sex relationships. That's not for me to discuss because that is not my experience. So, anyway, like I was saying, when it comes to this idea that women are to follow the man, I really think that some men agree with this generalized idea because they believe it's about the man wearing the pants in a relationship. But I honestly believe that it has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with whether you wearing the pants or the motherfucking skirt, bitch. Okay? The whole belief of, well, I wear the pants, so she gotta submit to me, is skewed because when there's men out here that don't lead by a good example for women to follow, should I go down the list? Yes, I will. When it comes to cheating, horrible communication, no plans for the future, no goals or ambition. You don't bring anything to the table where I feel as if you're teaching me something. Where I feel like I'm a better version of me because what you pour into me. There's no respect. There's lack of support. There's no confidence on this man's end because he's so goddamn insecure about every goddamn thing that goes down the line to all things just terribly wrong in this relationship. To even the possibility that this nigga don't even pay no bills. But I'm supposed to follow that? What the fuck am I following? Now! That's not the only perspective to look at this whole idea in. But when it comes down to it, I feel like the men who have this belief, they fall somewhere on this list. They probably fall somewhere on this list a couple times of just the couple things that I threw out there as a example of what a woman would be following for these Neanderthals who believe that I'm the man. The world is ruled by man. I wear the pants, therefore you got to follow me. Bitch, are you fucking nuts? Are you nuts? It doesn't make any sense. No sense at all. Of course, everybody's not like this. You have your men who actually step up to the plate. They do things that, whatever we may feel a man does or whatever the case may be. But even in that situation, I don't feel as if the man is more superior in a relationship than the woman. I just don't feel that. Like, you bring what you bring and I bring what I bring, and collectively we put that shit together and bitch, boom, this is what we have. You feel me? But I digress. I just wanted to relate into the negative idea, negative generalized idea of the collective when it comes to submission in romantic relationships. Now let's relate. And me personally, I don't have any personal story time of being with a man that wanted me to submit to him. It just never really worked that way with me. And also, before now, submit to a man. Back a couple years ago, baby, you would have told me to submit to a man and I would have been like, bitch, where? The fuck are you talking? Like, because my idea of submission a couple years ago was that of the skewed idea, what I just explained. So for me, a couple years ago, it was just like, bitch, please. She would never. Okay? This goes back to what, episode 4, 5, daddy issues, bitch. He basically set the tone for when it came to men. So it was just like, bitch, I'm not following no nigga. The hell? You got a bitch like me fucked up, okay? But there was once upon a time where I met a guy. We shared a little bit of time. And it kind of what I'm about to say kind of relates to the idea of submission, but first of all, let me just make this very clear. That was not the nature of this interaction with this man that I'm talking about. It, it just because we were not in a relationship. We were not even acting as if we were about to get into a relationship. It was one of those things where it kind of just happened. Well, no, I take that back. No, because I was plotting on that man. Yeah, I was plotting on that man. But it didn't go the way I wanted it to go just because, first of all, I was taken aback by the way real life just happened. And it was like, bitch, you ain't in control of this. Like, the shit that just happened with this man, it was just so unexpected. So, in this experience, I literally just ended up just going with the flow because it was like, wow, what is this? I have never felt this before. You know what I'm saying? And y'all know me. Y'all hear me on this podcast every Friday. Bitch this, motherfucker that. You got a bitch like me fucked up. You know what I'm saying? The mouth is trash, okay? Pure trash can, baby. Now, back then, I feel like I don't know if my mouth was worse back then or if it's worse now. I really don't know. But baby got a toilet bowl that he spit words out of, okay? And so basically, this man, he initially told me straight up from the beginning. I don't know what I said. If it was just something that I initially just said at that moment, or if it was like something that he just noticed with me. Because when we would like text, it was kind of it was completely different from, you know, what you would see back then on the Facebooker. You know what I'm saying? So he kind of was getting a little a different side, a more personal side of me in the text messages. And so basically he said, all that cussing, you can do that with your friends. But when we talk, all that is it's unnecessary. We don't need all that. Like we can talk to each other respectfully and get our points across and have good conversation without all the cuss words. He was like, we ain't homeboys. I ain't one of your niggas. You feel me? And from that day on, even today, bitch, let me just say this. The way that man carried himself, even back then in those times, like, he was older than me, but he wasn't that much older than me, just a couple years. But still, we're still within the same age group. So at that time, the way he just carried himself and like the way he handled me, it was like, oh, that's what he said? Then bitch, that's what it's gonna be. The fuck you mean? I'm not about to argue with that man. I can honestly tell y'all, like, it really, oh, like, from that day, it just opened up a whole nother side to me where I did not even know that I could be the way I was with this man ever. Did not, and when I say, like, the time that we shared, it was so small. It was so small. A very small window, but when I say the motherfucking vibes, the fucking energy, the vibration, the frequency, bitch, it was big as fuck. It was high. Do you feel me when I say this? So it was just like, okay, this man said I can't cuss around him, so I'm not cussing. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, even to this day, like, if I was to have a conversation with this man, baby, what y'all hear me saying, I would not dare. Do you feel me? It's just this certain level of respect that he wanted to make sure that I exuded for myself, with by also, respecting himself. Like, nah, we ain't doing that. And I love that shit. Like, now that's some shit to follow, bitch. Because he gave me good enough reason as to why. And it was just like, I can't argue with that. So there was a space in time where all of that went out the window. So after our shared time expired, of course life kept going on for me. So it's like this person was pretty much the person that kind of got that side of me where it was just like, okay. Not necessarily like fall back, but I can honestly say that I allowed him to be a man, if I say that's what I was doing at the time. I allowed him to be the man, whatever. So, of course, life goes on for me. My experience after my time shared with him, it was the total opposite. With my experience with the person after him, to where we had a conversation. We had a couple conversations over the years, like after our share time. And I was a little upset because I felt like I was being played. And I was so high on this pedestal of where I was acting out and just doing these things that was just something that I adapted to because of the experience that I was in, where I completely lost sight of the original agreement with this man, and I felt like he was playing me. So I was like, you know what? Well, since you acting like it's fuck me, nigga, fuck you too. Baby, do you know that this man shut that shit down immediately? Okay. He shut that shit down, baby, down. He told me, I will never forget this shit. He told me, okay, you burnt that bridge, and if you ever try to swim across, I won't lend out a hand to help you swim across the water. Take care. It was just like, oh yeah, you fucked up. And let me let your ass know right the fuck now. I told you then that you won't handle me as such. And I'm reminding you now, you will never be able to handle me as such from this day forward. I was salty as fuck because I forgot who I was fucking talking to. I thought it was the motherfucker that was just used to this toxic, disrespectful ass shit. And I was immediately humbled. Like, bitch, you fucked up. Baby, even to today. Now I've had a conversation. Well, not really a conversation, but I've had little run-ins with him after that. But I don't know. Like, I'm still in my mind where it's like, okay, so I don't know if he kind of looks at me a certain way now, because I know he didn't forget that, but at the same time it's kind of just like he's always been a stand-up, like, kind, respectful guy. So I don't know if that's just him just being a gentleman or what. Baby, I don't know. But yeah, I guess that's my story time. That's somewhat of a story time. But yeah, I never really submitted to a man before. Now, let's release into both parties submitting to each other and release the generalized idea of a woman submitting to a man. Now, me personally, I believe now that we both, me and my partner, or just in other people's relationships, I feel that both partners should be an example in the relationship to follow. Let's not, better yet, let's stop confusing the gender roles within completely surrendering to the person that you choose to be with. That's all I'm gonna say. Because that's kind of what it boils down to. It's like, oh, with the generalized idea, it's well, the woman is beneath me because I run this shit. First of all, when it comes to submission, it's expressed either mutually or voluntarily. So when we are submissive collectively, it helps us to be less self-centered and allow the consideration of desiring other people, essentially. That's really what it is. When you have a party in a relationship submitting to the other partner, it should be something that is a mutual understanding, because you should want to submit to that person to let them know that, hey, I desire you. I desire what you like. I desire, you know, um, the things that make you go round, the things that make you tick, all that, because all of that essentially makes up who you are, and I love you. You know what I'm saying? It really bothers me with the woman submitting to the man, because I feel like it's this picture that's painted that it's about control. But when it comes to submission, it's not about controlling your other partner. It's about considering your partner. And you consider your partner by expressing your love in various aspects of the relationship through your actions. Do you understand? I know it makes sense, but do you understand? Now, I will say, me and my husband and I will submit to each other. We will accept each other as a superior in the relationship, because it takes both of our efforts to make the relationship work at the end of the day. We will be both present and presenting our best selves and ideas to help each other grow within our relationship. When you think about it this way, life changes, therefore things change. So let's just say down the line, my husband is down. He's down, and not not pursuing things that he may want to pursue at the time, or things is just not looking up for him. He may be a little stressed out. Whatever the case may be, and down the road in our relationship. But for me, things are, on the up and up. Who would I be to look to him when he's not even his best self at the time? To look to him for answers while he's stressed out and he don't necessarily have a clear vision of what things are right now and what he wants or the necessary steps that he needs to take because he's allowing the stress to consume him at the moment. I will be acting like a lost dummy by just saying, okay, well, we just gonna go off of what you feeling today, instead of using what I bring to the table to build my man back up to his better self and vice versa. Like there is no comparison with that. I'm sorry. Like I will not. Bitch, that shit don't work. So it ain't about following behind a man and what the fuck he say is right or what y'all should and should not be doing, because he's not necessarily going to be at his best at all times. So, baby, you got to be able to pick up the fucking slack. So, the idea in relationships is to add and to pour into each other. So, that's what the fuck me and my husband is going to be doing, is adding and pouring into each other and submitting ourselves to each other to surrender to what the fuck we want, and that's this motherfucking relationship, and that's on fucking period. End of fucking story. Random of the day. I just love listening to men talk that actually talk about real substantial shit. Where the fuck y'all at? Holla at me, please. I'm looking for my husband. No, I'm not looking for my husband. I'm waiting for my husband to find me, baby. But I'm still looking for you. But I'm not going to hold y'all today. I pretty much said everything I needed to say. Straight, no chaser. And if ain't nobody told y'all that they love y'all today, just know that I love you, and I want to thank you for listening to today's episode of What is Life. But until the next episode, I want y'all to relax, relate, and release into submitting to each other in your relationships. And that's on period.